Making good people defenseless does not make bad people harmless. If words meant what they mean, instead of the term gun control, they should use victim disarmament. And if you believe in the Second Amendment, if you believe that good people deserve the best tools to defend themselves and their family, then you should be a member of San Diego County Gun Owners. San Diego County Gun Owners makes it easy to connect with the community that's fighting to defend and restore your Second Amendment rights. Become a member today. It's only $10. Go to sdcgo.org/join just to become a member.
All right, Dave.
I'm going to run next door so you can start talking about the bottom stuff.
Okay. All right. So just a little bit of a preview about today's show. Today we're going to be talking about a Tactical Gear Expo. We have Stephanie here with us with the Outdoor Women. We're also going to be speaking with Jim Miller, the very same Jim Miller as the Miller case. And he's going to be calling in and talk about some things about the Gun Violence Reduction Summit. And we're also going to have Gary Gibson back, a fan favorite from last week, and he's going to talk about the latest updates on the mag ban as well as SB2. So it's going to be kind of a pretty exciting show. We're going to talk about a lot of current stuff. We're going to have a great time. We also want to remind you that there is a gun show coming up in October, towards the end of this month, October 21st and 22nd. There will be also, along with your entry to the gun show, included in there is going to be an entry to the symposium. And if you want to get a $2 discount, you can go to gunownersradio.com/symposium, and that will give you that discount, $2 discount to get yourself into that gun show. So
yeah, it should be really good. I'm really looking forward to it.
Well,
because now, like you said,
there's going to be guns.
Yeah, there's going to be guns, so people can, actually physically look at something other than bags and hats and T-shirts.
Right, which are great, but
I agree.
But you're kind of there for the meat, not just the potatoes. So you're going to be able to see all that. You can see it all in one place, which is going to be fantastic. So we also have a special guest for this segment. We have Jerry from Core Essentials, who's also going to be talking about another event that happens to also fall within the same time frame. Jerry, are you there?
Yes, I am. How are you?
Hey, Jerry. Good. How are you?
Fantastic.
I saw you shooting the other day. How'd you do?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It was a good time. We took some people, the staff, some of the shippers that don't get out of the back area once in a while. I took them to the range discount gun mart and shot some rounds, did some training a little bit, gave them some pointers on marksmanship. It was a good day.
Perishable
awesome.
skill. So for those of you who don't know, Jerry is with Core Essentials. If you don't have a Core belt, where have you been?
Yep.
Right?
Yeah, what rock?
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, what rock do I find you?
Right. So, Jerry, you're here to talk to us about something really cool and exciting. I hadn't heard about this until recently, so I'm glad that you're here to spread the word. We have a Tactical Gear Expo coming up on the 21st. Can you tell us a little bit about it, what it's about, and where we find it?
Yes, absolutely. So October 21st, between 10 a.m. and 5 p.m., we're going to be hosting the Tactical Gear Expo at the Core headquarters. And it's going to be at 9520 Pathway Street in Santee. So you'll get to see the store or the facility itself if you get a chance to come by. We're going to be having some vendors out there. And it's going to be great for the public because you can come, anybody can come during that time frame, and you'll get to see a lot of different aspects in the quote-unquote gun world, if you will, tactical gear, holsters, bags, any type of thing you can think of that would go with tactical gear. We're hoping to have out there. We have a good handful, if not more, and more to be added of vendors. We're going to be hosting Tour Knives will be out there. BNS Brewery, of course, because we've got to have our refreshments. There'll also be Triple Feed. Who else is going to be out there? Trauma Pack. PWG is going to be joining us. And Ace Uniforms will be out there, so you'll get to see more high-speed gear from them. And Warrior Systems manufacturers will be out there as well. Along with others that will be coming up, and then we've been reaching out to others that will be coming as well. We're hoping to have a lot of people come out. We've got a lot of vendors, a lot of fun things going on. We're going to have some raffles, some giveaways. I'm sure there'll be a lot of swag to be collected should you show up. And for the most part, I think that's going to be a great time. Come see our facility, our building, and you'll be surprised. It's a great place, and you'll get to meet a lot of people within the industry and share stories. That's always fun.
Did you move from your old location, or are you still in the same one?
We are no longer in La Mesa. We've moved almost a year now. We are now in Santee, and it is a phenomenal place. We were able to bring everything together instead of having it piecemealed out in different locations, if you will.
And it was a little tricky getting to the one in La Mesa, I might add.
Yeah.
And I'm being very kind for an old guy.
I appreciate that, because we would get phone calls like, "Hey, I've been driving around for like 10 minutes trying to find you guys," and then be like, "Okay, go out again, and there'll be a guy in the parking lot waving you down." Yeah.
So where in Santee are you?
So again, our address, and you can look us up. We're at 9520 Pathway Street in Santee. We're right near Gillespie Field area. We're in that industrial park area.
Okay.
And so they really did a great restructuring into the building we're in. The best way to phrase it, I suppose, because we now have a little small landing area, if you will, with our products in there for people that happen to stop in every now and then. I mean, it's not a big store, but for the most part, we've got our products out that people can come and see and visit the headquarters there, because it's a nice place to visit. I have my customers come in every now and then, and they're pretty surprised.
Well,
for those that are not as familiar with Santee, there's a good chance they're still pretty familiar with the Pacific Island Beer Company. Similar, right? Basically, right in that loop right there. So, and what's nice is that although your event and the gun show are on the same day, it's like a 9-minute drive from one to the next. So make a day of it. Stop and have lunch with friends in between. Go from the gun show to the tactical event, or from the tactical event to the gun show. Kind of make both happen.
Well, you're not going to be able to eat at the gun show, I would imagine. So I would go to the gun show, go to the Pacific Island Brewery, grab some lunch, and then run over to Core.
That's it.
BNS
just solved everybody's trouble.
What did I say?
Yeah,
Pacific Island, or they closed down.
So it is.
They got bought out.
We got BNS.
Yeah. So they're gone. But that's the Tactical Gear Expo. We will have food and drink.
Oh, well.
So you can go to the gun show, collect your items, and then come on down to see more gear and get your favorite lickies and chewies and so forth, and mingle around. So it'll be great.
So put your sales hat on for a second, because I love the tactical belts that I got from you. But do you have just everyday belts?
Absolutely.
Well,
absolutely. We have. We have the belt that you can wear every single day, even if you don't carry, which is fantastic. And I'll give you a prime example. Right now, I'm wearing my favorite belt. It's the X6 gunmetal buckle with the buffalo brown leather belt. And I didn't at first was like, man, that looks funky. And now that it's my favorite belt. I wear it all the time, whether I'm carrying or not. We have everything in between too, from your fashionable looking ones to suit and, business attire to your tactical with your nylon belts and so forth. But it's a great system.
I'm definitely going to come by and see it. Absolutely. Now, is he staying or is he going?
Nope, that's it.
You're it, bud. I'll definitely come.
All right. Hey, thank you for having me on.
Thank you, Jerry.
Hey, we'll come see you. Hey, if you own a gun in California, you should have an attorney that specializes in California gun laws on your speed dial. Because if you ever have legal matters that involve firearms, you need California's firearm lawyer, John Dillon, especially if you have questions about red flag laws, gun registration, gun transportation, or maybe you just need to know that your guns are California compliant. Our trusted firearms attorney is John Dillon. John Dillon specializes in California gun laws. Put his number on your phone right now, 760-642-7150. That's John Dillon, 760-642-7150. Yours.
All right. So we've got Stephanie here from the infamous IB Guns. We talked quite a bit about her shop and her situation down in IB and trying to get her newest venture permitted within the region. And we're here to kind of give an update and to talk about all the new things that are happening with her and her shop.
Yeah, throw your background out there for people that maybe they don't know who you are. Well, how'd you get into guns? Why IB?
Okay.
Why did you leave?
Well, well, let's see. That's a whole story. How long do we have?
Got an hour and a half, so we're good.
Okay. I'm a mother. I'm a wife. My husband is military, so that's why we've been in IB for so long. It's a great place to live. We love it here. We met here. Or there, I guess. We're not in IB right now.
Yeah.
Firearms became a part of my life in 2012. Sleeping one night, we heard somebody banging on the door. So we went ahead and, or actually they were banging on the window. Yeah, that's what it was. They were banging on the window. Couple of kids looking for a party. Wrong house. But he's getting ready to go out to deployment. So, okay, guess what? I get to learn how to use a shotgun.
Yeah, because if you're leaving, I ain't dealing with this.
Exactly.
Yeah. And you chose a shotgun.
I did. It's still my favorite to this day.
Yeah, no. You find people that you talk to, you find more and more will favor a shotgun for home protection over a revolver or like a Glock.
It's just it's easier to use for most people.
And usually that it's kind of
it'll
a
scare
deterrent.
people away.
Yeah, it's a deterrent.
Exactly. So, over the next 2 years, we would go out to different gun stores, and I wanted to learn more. So I'd ask questions, and I'd want to see firearms. They'd hand it to him. So, okay.
What are you handing it to him for?
I'm the one asking to see it here.
And you're the one asking.
So 2 years later, we decided, okay, I don't want another woman to go through this. We're opening a gun store.
And your husband said, excuse me?
Well,
Or was that kind of his idea?
No, it wasn't his idea. He asked me, well, what do I want to do? I had sold real estate and done surveys for insurance companies over the years. So, things that could move with us as we moved. Well, this one can't quite move with us as easily. So he was a little surprised, but he was all for it.
Oh, heck yeah.
I mean,
got access
come on.
to all the guns. Oh, wow. What's that, 3 on the list? No, I'm only kidding.
One per page.
1 per page? Is that what it is?
Yeah, we're about there. Oh, it's horrible.
So you decided
So we decided
IB would be perfect.
IB would be perfect. We've got a lot of military down there, a lot of law enforcement.
And you're known.
And we're known. So we moved in 20, closed down IB Guns, moved out to Colorado. He had orders, still military. While we were out there, though, we decided that we needed to come back and open up this new store called Outdoor Woman and bring everything in from IB Guns with it. While we were in Colorado, we discovered that we can't find the things that my daughter and I would need for our outdoor adventures or even some of our indoor ones.
Sure. Pants that fit.
Exactly.
Tops that fit that will survive out in the wilderness, climbing around in trees and rocks and what have you.
I had to buy a snow bib that's about 6 inches too long and just in the legs and about 12 inches too long up in the straps.
Right.
I still have it.
Sure.
But why does a woman have to do that? Why can't we find things for us?
It's the same reason why they handed the guns to your husband and not you. It's the culture. But you'll have to admit, I think you'll agree as well, that is totally turning around.
Oh, absolutely.
Because you're starting to see more and more. Well, look at what's her name, Vanessa Garlow, that owns San Diego Gun Owners or Gun Range San Diego.
Right.
She's a woman and she runs that store.
Yep.
Very well. Okay, so you decide you're going to come back from Colorado and just go meander in and open up Outdoor Woman.
Well, I received emails, phone calls from all of our customers over the years, and we kept our FFL, moved it with us, so we'd get the orders, send them out here for transfer, and on our return, we just decided that okay, this is something that's needed not just in Colorado but here as well. Hiking, camping, fishing, even day to day, just out and about. Everything. Not everything, but a lot of things that are made for women, they're not made as sturdy or as well as the things are for men.
And maybe not even as attractive, because you've got to throw a little bit of attractiveness into women's clothing. I mean, they don't want to look like a man necessarily, you know.
Exactly. Why do I need all this meshing here? It's not functional. So, and that's what we came up with for our motto: functional, not fragile.
Ah.
We
So
need-
did you start making your own gear?
We did. We did.
Wow.
We've got some bags, some shirts, some blankets. We're working on shoes and boots right now as well.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So we are.
So you came back thinking this was going to be a piece of cake, just put the shingle up and they will come. But you got surprised.
Oh, we did. Oh, man.
It's like IB had changed overnight.
I have to remind myself we were gone for a few years, but even the speed limit changed while we were gone.
Yeah, but you still got the Tijuana River, so you're okay.
Yeah, well, some things don't change.
Yeah. So then what?
Well, City Council, we didn't appreciate what they were doing, but we understand that it needed to be done. They had to put together, I guess, their code for firearms retailers, which our business is about 10-15% firearms. So
Like they never had that code before,
they never had it before.
but you were there before.
We were there before.
And they didn't have a code before.
Nope.
Here she comes. We got to get a code. You think they were doing that to just kind of maybe deter you from opening a store?
I don't think so. Because we were there before.
Right.
We're a known entity.
Yeah, so they knew of you.
They knew of us. Actually, our store was catty corner from City Hall.
We'll protect you.
It was great.
Yeah.
You know, if there were any issues, they could come over, but there never
never
were
were.
any.
Right.
So, where was I? Oh, goodness.
So you were just coming back, and they had to
We
do
were-
their
They had to do
their due
thing.
diligence.
So I think a lot of it, thank
She
you.
knocks all your teeth out.
A lot of it had to do with the marijuana shops coming in and being legalized.
Oh.
So more things are needing code compliance and whatnot. So I think that's where a lot of it came in.
And
so
it's
there-
not like you were against having a code compliancy. I mean,
You just need to be reasonable.
just needs to
Yeah.
be reasonable. And if you need to have that to make you feel comfortable, because they could have just said no.
Exactly. That would not have gone over too well,
No, of course not.
but they did a great job. I mean, in 45 days, less than 45 days, they had everything ironed out. And
Because the last time we talked, I think you just attended their meeting. We went down, or a bunch of us went down to help, and you didn't know what the end result was, if I'm not mistaken.
No, we did.
no, we
Did
did.
we know?
So what was unknown was whether she was going to get her ideal location or not.
Oh,
Yes,
okay,
that's where we
gotcha. Like
left
just
off.
Yes.
nobody
Story
would
continues.
lease to you.
Yes, so we got our ideal location, 1144 Palm Avenue in Imperial Beach.
Catty corner to the
So-
courthouse, right?
Nope, we are now across the street from McDonald's.
Oh, well, there you go. How bad
So-
could that be?
You just, when you're coming down the street, no matter which way you're coming, you just look up on that north side and you will see our outdoor woman logo up there.
All right.
So we are coming soon.
That is so you're not open yet.
Not open yet. We're still working on, got some sheetrock and some painting to do.
Yeah.
You know, just little things.
How many square feet?
900.
It's not bad.
No, not at all.
No.
It's a great location. It's a great spot. I mean,
Decent parking.
so we have parking behind the building,
Okay.
and then we have parking in front of the building on Palm Avenue.
Okay. Because that's always an
It
issue,
is.
especially in a small town
It is.
like with what you got. All right. So you're excited.
Oh, very.
When's the grand opening? What do you think?
We are pushing for the first weekend in November. So,
That'll come quicker than you think.
oh, it is.
Yeah. And then,
It is.
so are you mainly reaching out to suppliers that make clothing, or are you going to start making your own stuff?
We're
Have you
going to be
decided?
doing both.
Yeah.
We're going to be doing both. We've established relationships with some that already do.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's some items that I think I can't find another manufacturer or
Right.
somebody else that makes them. So I have a manufacturer that we work with.
Right.
I do the designing and they
And
put
do
it
the
together.
making. Well, it's funny. I talked to 511 because there was a time when they advertised on our show, and my guy wasn't into money, so he was into product. So needless to say, my wife would go in when I would pick up a pair of pants or a shirt, and she'd say, well, where's the women's department? Oh, it's right over there. What, 2 shirts and no pants and no shoes, just a couple of shirts. So, and I've asked them more than once, and for some reason they just haven't pulled that trigger. They keep saying they're going to. I don't think they know what they
have
want.
a line of women's pants.
They have
Do they
some.
finally get the pants?
They do. I don't know that I necessarily love them, but they do.
They don't fit me well.
They
I've
don't-
tried.
They don't fit well. Or at least on my body, they
So
do.
Yeah,
you have
mine
to
either.
You have to resort to men's.
I actually prefer the men's based on trying both.
Right.
But I know that your experience may vary. But yeah, absolutely.
Well, that's good to know. So
She's sticking around.
We're gonna have a party,
Yes.
Yes.
We were having a big party.
balloons and all. Hey, if you listen to Gun Owners Radio, you know how I feel about our current government and financial system. So it's no secret I'm a big believer in diversifying your money with precious metals with gold and silver. But when it comes to buying precious metals, you need the right company in your corner. That's why we've partnered with the top-rated precious metal company, Goldco. Because reputation matters. Goldco is a 6-time Inc. 5000 winner, 2022 Company of the Year, and they've helped people like you and me place over $2 billion in gold and silver. And right now they're offering gun owners, radio supporters, up to $10,000 in bonus silver while opening a qualified IRA account. This is your opportunity to protect yourself from out-of-control, corrupt government. Don't pass it up. Grab your phone today. Give Goldco a call. Take action today again so you don't regret it tomorrow. That's Goldco at 855-612-6354. That's 855-612-6354. Tell them you heard it right here on Gun Owners Radio. All right. We got Stephanie still in the house. Gilrath from Imperial Beach.
That's right, the outdoor one. I actually, Stephanie, would like to spend a few minutes kind of talking to you about your approach to the firearm aspect of your business. Now, obviously, you're calling your shop the Outdoor Woman, right?
Yes.
So we're kind of speaking to kind of catering to a certain portion of the populace, mainly women, right?
Yes, correct.
So how is the experience going to be different at your shop? You've sold firearms for a number of years before. You know the business already. I'm just kind of curious to hear your approach on what
Well,
you're gonna
I got it figured out that what you probably are going to do when you walk in the door and a woman asks you a question, you're going to hand the gun to her husband.
Who says husbands are allowed
Oh,
through
now,
that door?
Now we're talking a real gun store.
There's going to be benches sitting outside, so you'll see
Yeah.
all the men lined up waiting.
Well, back in the old day, I mean, a woman walking into a gun store, it was like, what are you doing in here?
Times are changing. I'm telling you.
So what's going to be your concept? What's the store concept?
So when we were Imperial Beach Guns, we did everything by appointment. And that's what we're going to do again for firearms. Not every woman is comfortable with it. We have a training room at our new place. So yay.
Nice.
And we have an area where we'll take care of all the transfers. Anyone that wants to talk about firearms, they can come in there. But that's where everything is going to happen. It's not going to be in the main shop.
Oh, so it's not going to be out in the open. Per se. Yeah.
No.
I think that's smart.
I mean, you've got, what, 1 out of 4 women that's just afraid of firearms because all they've ever heard of is bad things.
Bad.
So why are we going to make them uncomfortable? If they want to come in and learn, we'll have the opportunity for them with training classes. They can just come in and ask questions even.
Right. And if they're in a private area, they're be more apt to ask questions than to do it in an open session where they're going to possibly feel embarrassed. Because, everybody always says, I don't want to ask that question. Well, there's no dumb questions.
Well, let me tell you, I can think of 2 gun shops right off the top of my head. I would ask questions, and they would look at me like I was from Mars.
I totally agree with you. And one of them, it's in El Cajon, and it's gone. And there's a reason. It's gone. Yeah. No, I totally get it. I mean, you can't. That's one thing I like about where she works over at Discount Gun Mart. It's a totally different atmosphere. I mean, you just go in and you feel comfortable.
So one we have two things that we're doing a little bit different than the typical gun store.
Mm-hmm.
One is when you're filling out paperwork to buy a gun, that 4473, you've got to put all your personal information on there.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Why do you want someone standing behind you or next to you looking over your shoulder and, oh, look, there's your social security number. There's your address.
Yeah, they live right up the street from me.
So that's one of the reasons that we're keeping everything so private.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's awesome.
So the other thing is we're not keeping things in stock because we don't believe that you are buying a new gun that 20 other people are going to handle. So you can come in if you don't know what you want. We can sit there. We can talk about it. We can go through pictures. We can talk about fit. We can talk about grip. You can go out to all these other gun stores that are around, touch them, feel them, hold them, just like everybody else.
Shoot them.
Shoot them even.
Test it.
Yeah.
Yep.
But when you want a brand new one, you come to us. You let us know.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to get one that was held and touched by the manufacturer, put in the case, sent to us.
And sold to you.
And we open the case, verify the serial number, and then it's yours. I mean, that's...
See, a lot of people don't realize when you go to a store, the gun you're buying that you think is brand spanking new may have been shot a few times, right?
Well, the manufacturers test fire.
Well, that
They
too.
do.
Yeah.
They do.
But how many stores, will just, or do they have their own library of guns?
They do. They're not technically allowed to shoot yours.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, that's good to know.
No, but all the people that come in before you that are curious about that gun, they're going to hold it, they're going to touch it, they're going to rack the slide, they're going to drop the magazine,
You drop it on the floor.
maybe drop it on the floor. So,
Yeah.
how do you know that that gun is brand new, never been dropped?
Right, which could cause an issue.
And so those are really the two biggest things for us, and the things that I see that are wrong with purchasing firearms at most gun stores.
So you're not going to really have heavy inventory. You're not going to have a range in the back room.
I would love to.
Well, I'm sure you would.
But no.
And what about a gunsmith?
No, we will not have a gunsmith either.
Okay. So you're so which is a positive, really, when you stop and think about it, because the chance of somebody wanting to break in and steal all your guns are going to have a hard time finding them
Exactly.
because they're not there.
Exactly.
Interesting.
I mean, they will be there, but
Well, but I
they're
mean,
it's not going to be this.
not at the capacity
inventory.
like that you see over, say, Discount Gun Mart.
Correct.
I was just thinking here, it'd be, and I know it'd be almost impossible, but wouldn't it be interesting if you could make a bunch of different molds that people could put their hand on and see what's comfortable?
Oh, they make those.
Do they really?
They do.
They're not cheap, but they make them.
Yes.
But I mean, I'm just saying.
That's
so
the downside.
But then you contact the gun manufacturer, and I said, I need mold 9. See, I even thought about it, and I already got beat out of it. So I'm never going to make any money.
Well, slow on the draw there,
good,
Dave.
good thinking, though. Good thinking.
Well, because, I mean, sales, you want to have the least amount of bumps in the road when you're in sales. You want that experience to be positive and upbeat and, trouble-free. Yeah, that's cool.
Well, and that's one of the reasons, too, we always recommend that if you want to get your hands on a gun and just feel it, go to, like, Discount Gun Mart.
Ranges that will
where
rent
you're
them to you. Yeah.
And then come on back to us and let us know what you thought about this one or that one and what else you tried.
Right. So, and I'm sure you're going to be price competitive.
Very.
No big heavy markups.
Nope, no big markups.
Because you don't have a massive overhead other than the lease of the building and
So when we were here before, we were able to usually, not always, but usually beat our competitors, and we're going to be working on doing that again.
Right. Which I think is smart. Because let's face it, there's still people out there, they're shopping price. And
So-
they need to shop service.
The most expensive part of owning firearms, it's not the gun itself.
No.
It's usually feeding it.
Right.
So, or if you have a rifle, sometimes it's the glass
Dressing
you
it.
put on it.
Yeah.
Dressing it up.
Well, we already know about that because Alicia was nice enough to help my wife's cousin. Got a Smith & Wesson 50 cal
500.
500
Oh,
and
awesome.
never wanted to shoot it. Just wanted to have it engraved. and hang it on the frickin' wall. I said, you are not getting this gun unless you take it to
I made him
Alicia
shoot it.
and shoot it. God.
You did well.
Yeah,
You did well.
for not ever shooting before.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Absolutely.
That's awesome.
Yeah. It
yeah,
was awesome.
you should see this cannon. He's
I'm
got
sure
the
she's
long
seen
barrel.
one.
Which the
11.
7 1/4? Oh, the 11.
11.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Then he had the whole thing engraved.
Oh.
And I just love messing with him.
Mm-hmm.
I says, well, where's the mother of pearl, grip? Oh, yeah. I never thought of that.
Oh.
Dude,
Oh.
he's got so much money
He's
in
going to
this
stop
gun.
letting you out.
I
Stop
know.
letting you in the door.
He has got so much money in this gun when he gets done with it. Then I was I telling him the other day, I said, you got to get a red dot. A red dot? What's a red dot? I'll have this thing looking like a 55 Chevy by the time we get done with it. But yeah. Well, and it's that personalization. People come into your store and they know they can get straight answers.
Mm-hmm.
And they know that if you don't know, you're going to find out.
Exactly. Not everybody knows everything.
No,
So
no.
come on in, ask the question. If we don't know, well, guess what? We'll find out.
And you'll have a lot of business in IB with all the military.
We're hoping so.
Yeah. Well, you did fine before.
We did well. But we were gone for a couple of years.
Yeah,
and
but
so,
you can do that. We're back campaign.
Oh, absolutely. And we're reaching out to all of our old customers
Sure,
saying,
say,
hey, guess what?
We're back.
Come see us again. You can schedule online just like you did before.
Got to buy a Hummer and have it wrapped with your, outdoor woman and, ride it off and be out there driving around. Everybody know who you are.
Exactly.
So I'm curious, with all of the products, the ones that you're manufacturing, designing, and making yourself, and then as well as ones that you're having other vendors come in and supply, is there do you have a top 5 list of products that you're looking forward to offering, or even just one, maybe one main one? I'm curious.
My personal favorite, and I've told this to I can't tell you how many people, even my husband brags about it. There is a portable hot water heater. It's hot water on demand. You can take with you camping. You can plug it into your vehicle, or you can use solar with it. So you can have a nice hot shower. You can wash your dishes.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the small
Right.
3-4 pound thing. I love it.
So are you going to throw maybe some camping items?
Oh, yeah.
in the
Oh
store?
yeah, we're
All the
gonna
outdoor
camping,
things.
hiking, surfing.
Mattresses, air mattresses.
Yeah, all of it.
Yeah, my idea of roughing it is forgetting the remote control to the TV in the 45-foot motorhome that's having somebody else drive. All right. Have you ever wanted to get a pilot's license? Well, here in San Diego, pilots can fly almost every day from San Diego's best place to learn how to fly in the world. Learn to fly with San Diego Flight Training International. Check out the deals just for gun owners and radio listeners. 1 hour of gun ground school. God, see, I'm already on guns. 1 hour of flight with the instructor. Yep, you get to fly. Normally $400, but for listeners, it's $350. Getting started, it's easy. Give them a call at 858-569-1822. That's 858-569-1822. All right. Hey, I think we got Jim Miller on the line.
We should.
Hey, Jim, how you doing, buddy?
Doing very well. It's a nice Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, beautiful out, isn't it?
Yep.
All right. So, what are we going to talk about?
So Jim, I have a little bird that's told us that you're going to share with us a little bit about the Terra Lawson Remer's Gun Violence Reduction Summit. So I read some articles, and I'd like to hear it from you, though, with your legal knowledge there and kind of your spin and your perspective on it. I would love to hear a little bit about it. For those that don't know, please share first what it is, and then we'll kind of get into the weeds of all the rest.
Of course. So, Supervisor Terra Lawson Remer held a Gun Violence Reduction Summit. That's the exact title that you just mentioned. Took over the council chambers for the County Board of Supervisors, and then brought in all of these anti-Second Amendment folks basically to espouse how guns are bad and laws that prevent law-abiding citizens from having guns are good. That's the overall tone to it, and how California is, passing all these common sense laws. And of course, it's the activist judges and the 6 on the Supreme Court and quote unquote 1 locally, we all know who that is, Judge Benitez, is taking matters into their own hands to, basically vilify their efforts and to, they hate kids. Basically, if you like guns, you hate kids. That was kind of an overriding theme. So, but it took 2 full hours. They had 4 panels. They had video messages from such luminaries such as Sarah Jacobs, right? Nothing like having a multi-millionaire trust fund baby tell you that you can't have your guns. That was awesome, amongst others. So, but the special keynote address that came in, and he showed up in person live. Attorney General, little Bobby Bonta, showed up.
Wow.
I very much enjoyed shaking his hand and looking him in the eye and letting him know that I was the Jim Miller in the Miller versus Bonta lawsuit. His face and body language dropped dramatically when he kind of put the 2 and 2 together. It was awesome.
That was awesome. I love doing that.
Did you know he was going to be there before you went?
He was listed on the speaking, but these types of things, Bonta doesn't show up to these, generally speaking, unless he does it by, like how Sarah Jacobs did it, some sort of a video pre-recorded call or maybe Zoom. But for him to be there in person and live, which I had a 50-50 kind of feeling on that, and he showed. I mean, to his credit, he showed, right? He didn't know whether he was walking into 100 San Diego County gun owners members or what actually happened, which is about 5 San Diego County gun owners members, at least that I recognized, and 100 Moms Demand Action and San Diegans for gun violence prevention, their orange and red shirts, which was the vast majority of folks sitting there.
So obviously we know what their aim is. We know the spirit of what they're looking to do. I'm curious, did they actually discuss any true real core issues, or was it just more just speaking of you just kind of spouting?
So let's unpack that, right? They had 4 panels, but there was no public comment. There was no back and forth. It was each panel would have 3 or 4 speakers. They would each get 4 or 5 minutes, no rebuttal, no comment, and then they swapped out. First panel, suicide prevention. So they had Dr. Bergman from the County of San Diego, behavioral health. They had Dr. Heidi Kraft, who is a psychologist or psychiatrist from Psych Armor Institute. They had Dr. Wafla Yuan, Y-U-A-N, who's San Diego County Psychiatric Hospital, and I guess he does some stuff with the VA. And they're talking about suicide. If there was any panel that had any sort of benefit to discussion at all, would be probably the suicide panel. But it's interesting how they spin the suicide topic. So as an example, they say that 52% of all gun deaths are suicides. Well, those are things that you, me, and most of us in the gun world, we understand that. The majority of gun deaths are by suicide. Now, the quote-unquote anti-gun folks, though, in their panel, spun it differently than you and I would probably think about it. They spun it that, well, if only these people didn't have access to a gun, they wouldn't have committed suicide. Okay. So no fact pattern to that. No potential evidence of that. Very strong speculation in order to spin their narrative, right? They said that people who commit suicide efforts by firearm are 90% successful. Well, that honestly is a statistic. I will probably agree with that statistic, because firearm, if you're going to shoot yourself with it, that's going to probably happen. Whereas they said that the next most likely or used suicide action, which would be an overdose or poisoning, it had less than a 2% success rate. Now, they didn't cite any numbers, right? There was no efficacy to what they were saying. But assuming that those are all correct, it still doesn't mean that guns are bad, and that, as an example, they were counting gun storage in that particular line of thought. Well, does gun storage when you unpack that concept, no pun intended, does that really prevent suicide? If the firearm is in a locked case that you have the lock to, or the combination thereof, how does that prevent your access to the firearm? It doesn't.
Right.
There's no statistic that they brought out, which was, if I'm there raising my hand and get the chance to ask these questions, I would ask, what is the statistic of the suicidal individual who has access to a firearm that's not locked, that is not theirs? Now, that's the statistic that I want to know about to see if what you are now telling me has any relevance to a storage law or not. And, of course, that's not anywhere near how they present it. So that's panel number one. You go into panel number two. This is the community-driven peace work. And we had San Diego County Council President Pro Tem Monica Montgomery Stepp, who is unfortunately leading the race right now to become a county supervisor, which would tilt the County Board of Supervisors 3-2 into an anti-gun situation. So hopefully that does not happen, but that is statistically where we're at. And Bishop Cornelius Bowser up on the dais there talking to us. That particular conversation was more hugs and kisses, puppies and kittens, espousing things about gun violence and how they have to get rid of it. No real hard data one way or the other, to be honest with you. The concept of 75% of youth shootings are gang-related, okay, that makes a lot of sense when you look at it nationwide. Then we had our video message from Sarah Jacobs. Did what I could to keep my lunch down during that particular 2-minute speech. Panel number three. Now, here's where, again, as president of the Cajon Valley Union School District, in my experience, my background for the last 7 years, this is where I have an issue. This was protecting children. That was the title of the panel. But yet nobody on the panel had school board experience, had school safety experience, had law enforcement experience, had military experience. None of that, right? You want to know who was speaking on this? The lady Therese Heimer from the San Diegans for Gun Violence Prevention. Okay, not person qualified to talk on that topic at all. Mm-hmm. The End Family Fire, which is a new colloquialism subgroup of the Brady Group, or Brady United, Colleen Creighton spoke on it. April Lassiter, a gal from Open Heart Leaders, very interesting. She said that she's never seen somebody with an AR-15 go to hunt deer. So why do you need one?
Does she hunt at all?
Well, no. That's my point. If you had a vision of young Miss Lassiter and her purple hair, not that there aren't people that hunt that don't have purple hair, and just her colloquialisms and how she presented herself, it was, no, I don't think you hunt very often, to be quite frank with you. And we, of course, didn't fight a revolution against white-tailed deer in need of military-grade, quote-unquote. That obviously comes up quite a bit in this group, military-grade firearms. And then California State Senator Catherine Blake Spear. Now, she was the former mayor of Encinitas, right? And I got to tell you guys something. Blake Spear, her talents are way beyond Sacramento. She lies so convincingly. She really needs to be in Washington. Her all about the children, this concept, the stat that keeps getting thrown out there, and then Bobby Bonta threw this out later. More children die by firearms. It's the number one killer of children in America. Now, that's not true, because for that statistic to be true, and I think those of us in the room know this, that's been debunked. They take out 0 to 1, and they add 18 to 19-year-olds.
The fight for the Second Amendment is also happening in Orange County and Inland Empire. Orange County gun owners and Inland Empire gun owners lead the fight on the city and county level to defend and protect your self-defense rights. How do they do it? They do it by fundraising and getting local pro-gun candidates elected. Become a member today. Go to iegunowners.com/join. Or if you're in Orange County, that's ocgunowners.com/join. And join the growing number of responsible gun owners stepping up to defend our Second Amendment right. That's IEGonowners.com or OCGunowners.com. All right. Hey, you want to talk about the winners?
Yeah, let's go ahead and do it. So we got some winners. So we got our subscribe and win, our weekly little event that we have every week. You subscribe to our email list and you have an opportunity to win some swag. So our winner this week, Diana Sardina.
Excellent.
Diana.
Very good.
So Diana, go ahead and email us. Email us at prizes@gunownersradio.com to claim your T-shirt or hat.
Absolutely. Hey, we got Gary Gibson back
We do.
in the house.
But hold on. Whoa.
But
We
wait,
still have
there's more?
Jim. We have Jim in the wings.
Oh,
We need to
I'm
bring
sorry.
Jim back.
Jim is back. Oh, my goodness. All right, Jim. So continue where you were.
Well, first, Dave, if you forget about me again, I'm going to have to drive one of your cars. Okay.
Okay.
Just keep that in mind.
Whichever one you want. It's fine with me.
There we go. And I'll wrap up, guys. So, long story short, coming back to State Senator Blake Spear and the stat that continuously was thrown out there about children, number one death of children now being firearms versus anything else. Again, they skew that stat. They take away 0 to 1 age group, right? So newborns to 1 year old. And why do they do that? Because SIDS, sudden infant death syndrome, is the number one cause of death amongst infants. Then they add the 18 to 19-year-old category as quote-unquote children, but they don't tell anybody that they're adding adults into the children category. Now, why do they do that? Go back to the previous panel where they say 75% of deaths by homicides of kids are gang-related. Well, they capture that extra, the 17, 18, 19-year-old gang member now in that statistic. So if you listen carefully, and of course, if you just open your phone and Google it, you can find out what the real statistic is. But of course, you know, the people in the audience are just sitting there eating all this stuff up as if it was actual gospel. And Blake Spear also went on to say that in California now, more people die from gun deaths than they do from automobile accidents. That's completely wrong. Even the CDC numbers on that, she's off by 1,000 people of all basis for firearms. So in 2022, the number, and again, it was easy to look up, the number of people that died due to car deaths was 4,407. So 4,407 people died in a car accident in 2022. Firearms related of any type, inclusive of suicide, 3,570. So, I mean, they just lie to their audience. They lie to their base, and their base just eats it up. The last panel, though, scooting off to the last one, plus Bonta, holding the firearms industry accountable. Now, this was San Diego Council member Marty Von Wilpert, who was a San Diego's deputy city attorney, talking about how ghost guns, right? It's October, it's Halloween. We got to talk about ghost guns, don't we? Just the lack of understanding, their feeling that an 80% lower or a slide on its own is a gun and should be serialized, and as such is a danger to the community. And again, their base just eats it up. Like, oh no, an unserialized lower. Do you think that 95% of the people sitting in that audience understand what an 80% lower is? Absolutely not.
No.
To them, it shoots out 50 caliber rounds at 5,000 rounds per minute. You know, it's just unbelievable. Of course, our favorite, the city attorney Mara Elliott's up there on the stage talking about her red flag laws and, you know, the unconstitutionality trying to say that her red flag laws are constitutional, which we certainly believe are not. But and Chris Ward, who's never been a friend of the firearm side, just talking, to be frank, just again, they're politicizing, they're pandering. Nothing that they said, when you really break it down on a statistic or a reality base or how functionality of firearms or the Second Amendment works, none of it's true. Zero. But they're playing to their audience. And then finally, Bobby Bonta walks up there. And, of course, take a moment of silence for Dianne Feinstein, who died that day. And, of course, was a big, you know, she got the assault weapons ban passed. And, you know, everybody's, of course, you know, a little tear shedding. Well, maybe not me, but people are shedding tears over it. Then he goes into this story about how he got the text that no parent wants to get about his kid was on lockdown for a school's possible shooting. And then later they got the text that everything was all clear. All right, well, how does that relate to the Second Amendment and to the firearms laws? And he talks specifically about SB2, the new, what he called constitutionally workaround of Bruin. That's how he described SB2,
Wow.
which no other state that's built this law in so far has had a federal court find it to be constitutional. So I'm betting it's not going to happen here either.
Right.
So he goes into SB2 a little bit, and Terra Lawson Remer comes up and says, "Isn't it horrible? I can't think of a single bank teller that would ever want somebody with a gun in their bank." And I'm sitting there to myself, Terra, you just said earlier about how you were a lawyer and an economist and how this is important to you. And I'm in the back of my head going, when was the last time you were in court as a lawyer, Terra? Because for me, it was that morning in 2 different courthouses. But so you don't know what you're talking about there. But then when were you a bank teller, Terra? Supervisor Remer, when were you a bank? Because I was a bank teller. I worked for 3 years going through law school in a bank. I'll tell you right now, when somebody pulls out a gun and puts it in the face of the teller, that never happened to me. I'm pretty sure that teller would want another properly trained, armed individual holding the CCW there for them. So some of these statements, because they didn't allow any manner of public comment, when they go unchallenged, it just sounds good. I would really have appreciated the media, and everybody covered this, all the stations. I mean, it was just a bank of cameras. I would really have appreciated the media holding a little kind of chalk talk, so to speak, out in the hallway when it was all said and done with all of the panelists, and then see if anybody else had something to say, because, well, that would have been a perfect opportunity for me to at least ask the question or two of the panelists that would have at least put them on their heels on how to have to answer. But unfortunately, that didn't happen. But look,
they didn't want that to happen. They don't want that to happen.
Of course not.
But the thing of it is, on the bright side, if they think they can get once it goes to court and gets appealed and gets up to where it needs to be, then all of this will be for naught. Wouldn't you agree?
Oh, yeah, but in the meantime, right? In the meantime, Dave, we're stuck.
Yeah, true.
We're stuck with generally a 6-year period. How long has it taken for Duncan to get back out?
Yeah.
Right? And we just got the Duncan ruling. How long has it taken for my case to get out? When Duncan came out, I thought for sure that Judge Benitez would have a new ruling on the Miller case. So I expect that any time now. I mean, literally any day we expect Benitez to have the new ruling on my case as well. But there's still this long process. In the meantime, these stays go into place. There's no reason, based upon Duncan, that we shouldn't have normal capacity magazines today, except for, inclusive of those of us that got them during Freedom Week in March of 2019 now. But there's no reason why the Miller case needs to be stayed. We should be able to take all the nonsense, fin grips and whatnot, off of our ARs and other platforms now. Let the state who's lost, let them chase us. There's no reason for these stays, in my opinion, to be put in place now that we've won.
And they're still not taking guns away from the criminals.
That's the bottom line.
That's the bottom line. And that's what I would do if I was ever in a situation. I would just look them dead in the eye and say, fine, but how are you going to take guns away from the criminals and not go away until they answer it? But then they lie.
They can't answer that, Dave. They cannot answer it.
It's very nice talking to you, Jim.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate being on, as always. If you ever need me, you know how to get me.
We sure do, buddy. Thank you very much. Be safe, and we'll talk to you down the road. Hey, is there a better tool that empowers a woman to defend against an attacker that's bigger and stronger?
Nope.
Well, that's why it's so important for women to learn how to defend themselves with the most effective self-defense tool ever invented. For women, led by women, the Not Me program is designed to help with training, purchasing a gun, and getting a concealed carry permit. And guess what? It is totally free. So to sign up, go to notmesd.org, notmesd.org. All right, we have a special guest in the house. He kind of got kicked out of his one segment, but he decided to stay. Gary Gibson. Going to talk a little bit about high-capacity mag ban.
You got to do the air quotes when you say that.
Say what?
You do the air quotes when you say that.
Oh, yeah, air quotes. And before the H and after the Y in high capacity. How you doing, Gary?
I am doing great. Thanks for having me back.
I understand you had a pretty exciting week.
Well, it's been a big legal week with regard to gun owners with SB2 and standard capacity magazines.
Wow. Yeah, standard capacity.
There you go.
Well, you understand why I'm saying that, right?
Sure, I
But
do.
I am a big proponent of they control the language through focus groups and poll testing. And they do it with high-capacity magazines, they do it with assault rifles, and they do it with gun violence.
They do
and
it everywhere on everything that they want on their side. They twist the language around, like the border is not open. Yet everybody looks at it and says, well, it's the semantics. It's the way the words they use. Anyway.
Well, Majorca says the border's not open.
That's true, too.
I shouldn't believe him.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. Everybody should. So how'd the week go? Tell us about
This
it.
was a really interesting week. I've got to do a little background for you so we go through the process again. Remember, this Duncan case is Duncan 2. It's not Duncan 1.
Right.
Duncan 1's already been through this case. And this is the way that things...
Can you give a little recap on Duncan for people that may
Right.
not be aware of it?
Okay, so here's what happened. Judge Benitez, a district court judge, decides Duncan 1 back in 2019. And he says the California standard, I'll use their language, their high-capacity magazine ban is unconstitutional. And he doesn't grant a stay of his opinion. That's where we got Freedom Week from in 2019.
Right. Everybody
And
went.
then in normal course of business, it goes to the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeal. And the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeal assigns 3 judges to hear whether Judge Benitez's ruling was supported or unsupported. They will affirm it or they will reverse it. And then when the ruling doesn't go the way that the Ninth Circuit wants, when the panel supported Judge Benitez, they said, no, we can't do that. We're going to do what's called en banc, which means that instead of 3 judges hearing this, we're going to have 11 judges from our panel hear this. And the Ninth Circuit's got 26, 7, 8, something like that, high 20s number of judges. So an 11-judge panel will hear it en banc. And what they're doing en banc is they're reviewing the 3-judge panel's decision. And so what happened in Duncan 1? En banc reversed the 3-judge panel and reversed Judge Benitez. That was taken up to the Supreme Court, but they held on to it at the Supreme Court because they were deciding Bruin. And then when they decided Bruin, they kicked Duncan back to the Ninth Circuit and said, you guys redecide this consistent with our new opinion in Bruin because we've changed the tests for how you assess firearms regulations. What would have made sense at that point is that the Ninth Circuit en banc would have just redone, done a do-over, or else even send it to the 3-judge panel. But they sent it back to Judge Benitez. And even Judge Benitez says, I don't know why you sent this back to me.
I don't need it.
I already decided that this was unconstitutional and under an easier test. And so why am I getting this for harder? Judge Benitez comes out with his opinion on the 22nd of September of this year. And he grants a 10-day stay. The Ninth Circuit at that point, and again, I'm going deep into the weeds on what I'm reading. The Ninth Circuit was not happy with the motions panel. What's the motions panel? The motions panel is the panel that would have determined whether Judge Benitez's stay would have been longer than 10 days, because he did grant a stay in this case at Bonta's request for 10 days. Okay, you're going to keep this stay in place. The motions panel, from what I understand, had 2 Trump-appointed judges on it. They were not confident at the Ninth Circuit that the stay wasn't going to be vacated and it was going to be open the floodgates. And how would they ever in the future, if they put the genie back in the bottle, how were they ever going to figure out if somebody got their magazine a week from today or after the genie went back in the bottle? And so they said, all right, we can't do this. So what are we going to do? We're going to skip the 3-judge panel again. And we're going to take it en banc. We're not even going to go to that panel because we know how they're going to rule. We know how Benitez has ruled, so they skipped the 3-judge panel. And not only did they skip the 3-judge panel, they skipped the motions panel.
Can they do that?
Under their rules, they can. But they've never done it before. As was pointed out by Judge Bumate, who is a judge on the Ninth Circuit that was a former federal prosecutor in San Diego for 6 years, who said, we've never done this before. Why are we skipping the motions panel? They should decide to stay in this case. I get, and you're allowed to take this case en banc, but why are you doing all these behind-the-scenes maneuvers to make this work? What are we doing here? And the en banc panel granted another continuance, but only for 8 days. So the first stay should have been up on the 2nd of October. They granted and extended that until the 10th of October. And then they've taken briefings, and they're going to decide it by the 10th of October, but not the motions panel, not the 3-judge panel, the en banc panel from Duncan 1 that reversed Judge Benitez and the favorable 3-judge panel. And something that I really haven't seen before is Judge Van Dyke wrote a 5-page dissenting opinion for that 1-week continuance, and he lit these guys up. There's supposed to be collegiality, and they've used that collegiality in the Ninth Circuit in order to hide what they're doing, their absolute hatred of the Second Amendment. In fact, in a different case, Judge Van Dyke said, this circuit is 50-0 against the Second Amendment, which was a great line in the McDougal case. You remember that case where they closed gun stores and said they weren't essential during the pandemic. Geez, I saw people fighting over toilet paper. If anything was essential during the pandemic, it was a gun store. And so he wrote an opinion in that McDougal case where he said, you violated the law, County of Ventura. And guess what? Not only am I going to write the majority opinion, I'm going to write a concurring opinion. It means an agreement with my opinion. Here's why I'm going to put in my concurring opinion. I'm going to put in there to agree with all these people on the en banc panel. They're going to reverse my decision. Here's your opinion for you. And this goes to show you how you can manipulate the law by saying anything, because I've written 2 opinions, one that says you can and one that says you can't. So I've written yours for you. You're welcome. That's actually in.
You're kidding.
No, that's in the opinion. I've never seen anything like it. So he lit these guys up. And let me leave you with this quote. The story of the Second Amendment in this circuit has been a consistent tale of our court versus the Supreme Court and the Constitution. That tale continues today and will continue as long as a number of my colleagues retain the discretion to twist the law and procedure to reach their desired conclusion. As uncomfortable as it is to keep pointing that out, it is important the public keeps being reminded of it.
Whoa.
Dude, that is as confrontational as you get. But he believes that the collegiality is being used to silence people when the overwhelming group of people at the Ninth Circuit are manipulating the law.
So what are the Ninth Circuit? They all fired up again?
Oh, they're all fired up again. It's going to be an interesting en banc panel.
So where is it going to go? So they're going to do on the 10th, they're going to make their decision?
They're going to make the decision on the stay. And now we're off to the races with the appeal. There's a silver lining here. We're not going to the 3-judge panel, which means that time is not existing. So the year that it would have taken, 1.5 years to do that won't happen anymore. So it means that we're likely to get to Supreme Court a year earlier when this en banc panel makes it 51-0 against the Second Amendment.
Right.
Because unless they come to a rapid change in their own personal belief system and postures, they will use the law in order to restrict the Second Amendment.
No, they're not going to change.
Of course not.
They're in too deep. Well,
Judge Van Dyke and Judge Bumate are on the panel, so there's going to be a vigorous dissent from the panel, and I don't know if that'll change their opinion. The fact that the machinations behind the scenes stuff they're doing is being exposed.
Wow.
And in fact, in this 5-page dissent that he wrote, now I'd encourage everybody, if you want to read this stuff, go on CalGuns. CalGuns has a Second Amendment litigation section. All of this stuff is online and up on the CalGuns blog, CalGuns website.
Yeah.
He exposed how there shouldn't have even been an en banc panel in Duncan 1 because they manipulated their own rules to make it happen. They got to it too late, and then they behind the scenes manipulated the appointment of the en banc panel, and that 3 cases shouldn't have been heard en banc, and they only decided to hear the Duncan case en banc, and they let 2 other cases go, including one of them being a death penalty case. And as Judge Van Dyke says, priorities.
Well, who's overseeing these people?
Well, I mean, the only people theoretically overseeing them is the Supreme Court. Once the stay goes against us, and I think they will put the stay in place until the en banc panel finishes, that'll add another year to this, maybe 1.5 years before we get back to Supreme Court, maybe, with this. The losers on the stay can take what's called an interlocutory appeal, or they can appeal to the Supreme Court. And they can go through, actually, they can run through individual judges. I think it goes to Justice Kagan first. They could go to Justice Thomas second and ask him to take it to the full court.
Wow.
So it's really this fascinating the way this has happened. I got to tell you, as a lawyer, but also it distresses me as a lawyer because my entire career has been predicated upon the equal application of law, and that people leave their personal choices and personal wants behind. They haven't understood yet that they've lost, and they've lost big. And the Second Amendment is something that they don't believe it is, but they're stuck with it, and they need to get on board with that.
Right. Well, it was like, as unfortunate it is for a person to pass away when Feinstein passed away.
But that's not going to affect our votes on the future stuff in the Senate.
But isn't that amazing? They actually came out and said it because of the death of Milk and the other gentleman. That changed her whole attitude about gun ownership.
Right.
Well,
one personal event.
That is not supposed to be that way.
Law's supposed to be the law, but it isn't.
He's the happiest lawyer I think I've ever seen. I mean, this guy really likes.
Always has a smile. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's like a mystery novel, right?
Law is always a mystery,
isn't it? Though
it's like you don't want to see laws and sausage being made. I think.
Hey, a lot of companies waste an enormous amount of money on marketing. The design is excellent, the photos are beautiful, and your website looks great, but it's just not getting customers. Why? Because you don't have the words that make people buy. But now you can fix that with Sage Tree. Sage Tree can help you find the words that make it easy for your customer to understand what you do and how to buy from you. Stop wasting money today. Schedule a call. Getting started is easy. Visit sagetree.com and click on the Schedule an Appointment button. That's sagetree.com and click on that Schedule an Appointment button right now. All right. We're back with our special guest.
So, Gary, I'm hoping. So this whole, the case with the mags and the standard capacity, that we're hopeful.
Standard capacity.
Thank you.
Well, I'm not hopeful. I think the Ninth Circuit will revert true to form.
Long term, though.
I think they're going to extend the stay.
Right.
I think they're going to overrule Judge Benitez, and I think the Supreme Court at some point, hopefully it's still the same Supreme Court, steps in.
Yeah. But they're pushing it down the road, hoping that the Supreme Court will change.
Well, that's the goal. There can't be any other goal. They understand. I mean, they're not dumb people. They read the tea leaves, and they're making intelligent, goal-oriented decisions like everybody else.
Right.
But their goal-oriented decisions don't comport with the law. The problems and disagreements we've had in society with regard to politicization and disingenuous nature, they've washed into the judiciary now. I don't care what side you look at it from.
Right.
And so we're not getting honesty and integrity from the judiciary. And that was mentioned in Judge Van Dyke's complaint that he had. He goes, you are both undermining our ability to work with each other and undermining the way the public looks at us. But I just don't know if they care, because firearms and abortion, the rules go out the window.
Right. Was there any response from the Ninth Circuit?
No, but they wouldn't have responded to that. I mean, the response is going to be an upraised middle finger when they extend the stay for the next year and a half. I mean, that'll be the response to Judge Van Dyke.
Wow, how terrible! But you gotta stay after it, though. That's the key.
Well, I am hopeful that the way that things have been exposed for how things have worked inside the Ninth Circuit, that the collegiality, as long as we win, I hope that goes away. I hope that people are exposed for who they are and what they do and what they say, and they can't get away with manipulating the process, because it undermines public trust in the judiciary.
So does the Supreme Court have any power over the Ninth Circuit?
Theoretically, they could review the stay decision once it's made.
Okay. But they couldn't eliminate anybody on the Ninth Circuit?
No. Well, not unless they hire somebody.
Yeah.
So another hot topic that we need to shift over to, SB2.
I got a question for you, Dave.
What's that?
Are you reasonably likely to be a danger to yourself or others?
No.
Well, I don't know. You probably get a difference of opinion in this room.
You think? Ooh.
Ooh,
You think I am?
maybe.
You know what that is?
What is that?
That's the new standard for getting a CCW in California.
Is that the new one?
Uh-huh.
Is that SB2?
That is SB2. They've thrown out good cause. Well, they didn't have much of a choice with that. Supreme Court said you have to throw out good cause.
Yeah. So I've been waiting for what's going to come next.
Well, do you want the bad news on getting a CCW, or do you want the bad news on after you get a CCW?
Ah, I see. So it's ugly either way.
Mm-hmm.
It is. I agree with Jim, though. This is so blatantly unconstitutional, but the problem is not all of it is. Mm-hmm. This is a huge bill touching every aspect of firearms ownership and CCWs.
And the core of what they wanted to do with it, they hid. They presented it as being a safety bill, but they hid the core.
Well, here's the thing. They've
below.
also made it severable.
Mm-hmm.
Severable means that they could lose a part of it, but the other parts are saved. And so every individual piece of it has to be challenged. Like I think the first lawsuit was May versus Bonta against SB2, and the next one, Colados, is the one that Michael Schwartz is on. It's out of this district. Is Colossus or Colados, one of those two.
I thought there was an R in there somewhere. Yeah.
But that lawsuit that Michael's part of, that's only challenging the sensitive space restrictions, the restrictions on where you can carry. It's not challenging any of the CCW granting restrictions. And so and those two cases have just been joined together with the same judge in the Central District. And he was, McCarty, he's pretty firearms friendly. We didn't get a bad draw on that. So what is SB2? SB2 is the response of the state to Bruin. You heard Jim Miller talk about it in the last segment. We said, Bonta said it's our constitutional response to the Bruin decision. That changes. Smart people write these anti-gun legislation.
Oh, yeah.
And so what they've done is they've almost made it easier to get a CCW with some huge restrictions, but then they've made it impossible for you to carry the gun that you get.
Right. So you can have the paperwork, you just can't carry the gun.
Well, you can drive around with it.
Yeah.
But you might not be able to pull into a parking lot.
Right.
But you can drive the streets with it for the most part. In fact, they actually have that in the law. That we don't mean that you can't drive through somewhere with it, but you just can't stop. And so there's going to be a lot of people doing nothing with their CCW other than driving around with their gun.
Right.
And then when they get out, what are they supposed to do? Go to the back of your car before you get to the parking lot and unload it in the middle of the street and put it in your trunk?
And everybody's will be illegal in their eyes.
Yes. The whole point of this, I've been doing this a long time as a lawyer. I have to take a slide rule and a calculator to figure out how this thing works.
Right.
Is this right or is this wrong? I can't believe how many questions that I'm going to get if this ever goes into effect. Here's the positive. I don't think it's going to go into effect. They've tried this everywhere else. Other states, it's been found to be unconstitutional and stayed while it's being litigated. I don't know if anybody's finished litigating it yet. I don't think so. But other states have tried this. I think Hawaii, Maryland is the most recent. This week, they got a stay on some of the sensitive space restrictions in the Maryland bill, and that just happened. So this is happening as we're talking. But here's the problem. There are things in this bill that are going to survive. One of the things that's going to survive is they've doubled the amount of training to get a CCW to 16 hours.
Yep.
They've doubled the amount of training for a renewal to 8 hours. That may not seem like a lot, but they foisted their own pet projects into it. 1 hour of your training now has to be mental health and mental health resources.
Are we mental health professionals to be able to teach that?
Well, it can't be the firearms instructors. They have to bring in mental health professionals.
You're correct.
It's
I
in
do
the
recall
bill.
that. It is.
Yeah.
I do recall that. So what's that going to do to the cost of the course?
It's not just going to double the
How attainable is
cost
that
of
going to
the
be
course.
for people?
Well, take whatever price you're paying now and double it.
At least.
Well, they still need the instructors. They still need the time. They still need the space. And here's the problem. I think the facilities aren't there in our county right now to do it. I mean, they're facility maxed with their CCW classes. I know that some people have been moving Bill McLaren and 2A Firearms. They've had to expand to almost doing a CCW class every weekend. But now it's going to be Saturday and Sunday. So when is the 8-hour renewal going on? Who's doing that if they're doing every weekend a CCW class?
Well, they like you said, they're not stupid. They're going to make it as difficult as they can.
And that's what they're doing.
Right.
And we're back to my question. Are you reasonably likely
Right.
to be a danger to yourself or others?
Yeah.
Oh, and by the way, we're going to get 3 of your best friends because we're going to talk to them too about whether you're reasonably likely. 3 character references as part of it now. One of them has to be your cohabitant, and one of them has to be a previous cohabitant, boyfriend or girlfriend or partner.
If they're alive.
If possible.
Well,
you got bigger problems than CCW, and we should talk after the show.
But it's so. We've had this conversation because the first hour I do is trying to keep the land open, the deserts and Pismo Beach, and we're fighting the government there, and they're doing the same thing that we're doing here. It's just the topic is different. Ours is to go to the desert, enjoy yourself on a motorcycle, or buy a gun and be able to carry it.
And actually get trained, get screened, and then actually be allowed to exercise your constitutional right to defend yourself.
They're two, and I say this all the time, they're taking my money and trying to stop me from doing my Second Amendment right, and I have to defend myself with my money. So it's my money at both ends. I mean, I'm fighting against myself.
Well, I got one more thing for you. I don't know if I'm going to like those posts that you've been putting up about Governor Newsom. Because all your public postings now, we're going to use that to determine whether you is reasonably likely you're a danger to yourself or other. You know what? You say a lot of anti-government things.
Yes,
Dave. You say things that make us nervous. So we reasonably believe that you're a danger to yourself, or others.
Well,
and it's that standard that meant nothing. What is good cause? What is good moral character?
Very arbitrary.
They've eliminated those useless standards, and they've turned them into another useless standard called reasonably likely to be a danger to yourself or others.
Can they? But then again, then we hire you, and then you go back to court, and then you.
Well, one of the good things in the bill, it's got an entire section, what happens when they turn you down. They got 90 days to tell you that you're qualified initially, go get your training. And then they got 120 days after you finalize your application with your training certificate and your live scan. 120 days after that, they can turn you down. But it's got a whole process in there. Hey, you go to court. So in that sense, it's actually better than the old process.
So wait, so what you're saying on top of the 90-day background check that we currently already have, there's going to be an additional 120 days?
They have 90 days to tell you or let you take your training.
So, okay, so they're expanding that to 90. Okay, and then from there.
120 to turn you down.
Gotcha.
And there's so many things written in there. We don't have to do the character letters on a renewal. If the sheriff doesn't want to do it, they don't have to.
Right.
So you're not going to need character on a renewal, but you are going to get theoretically your social media checked. They're going to do public postings that you've been putting online talking about how bad the government is.
I'm in good shape because I write it and then I delete it. I find if I write
Once
it.
it's out there, Dave, it's out there forever.
No. I don't hit send.
Oh.
I just write it, feel better, and then delete.
You're not in good shape, Dave. They got a file on you.
Well, the San Diego Gun Show is returning October 21st, 22nd. Excited. It's the second gun show since they banned it from the Del Mar Fairgrounds, and we need you to come out and support the event so we can keep on growing the gun show and help educate people. It's normal to want to be able to protect yourself, period. Gun Owner Symposium is also happening. Turned out to be extremely popular last time, so free with a gun show admission. And what is the symposium? It's 2 full days of presentations and speakers where gun show attendees can learn something, listen to something about provoking, and enjoy the gun show. Admission's only $15, and you can get a $2 discount. Just go to gunownersradio.com/symposium. All right. Hey, Sam. How you doing, buddy?
I'm well. How are you guys?
Oh, we're doing pretty good. I guess Michael is still cruising with your grandfather.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. eating barbecue.
I know. I saw that. I was
I've
like,
seen
I'm so
that, too.
jealous.
Yeah, I know. I told him now that's real food.
Bet you didn't have spaghetti.
No, not at all. All right, so you ready for the question of the day?
Sure, let's have it.
All right.
All right, Sam.
It's gun related. It's not a car, and it's not something you eat.
Nor is it a horse.
Nor is it a horse.
All right. You ready, Sam?
Yeah, I don't know why they felt they had to preface it that way, but I'm feeling a little less ready now.
You will see.
You will see. So we have our question today. Our question is from Ben, and Ben is from Phoenix. And his question is, what is a Pinto?
Ben from Phoenix, thanks for writing in. Thanks for the question. And now I'm kind of glad it was prefaced in that way. So I know it's not referring to the horse or the car named after the horse. But there is a gun named after the horse. And if I recall correctly, this would be one of those tiny subcompact, really pocket pistols as they were marketed back in the day from Colt, known for having the prancing pony logo. And again, I'm rummaging around here in the back warehouse of where I keep the mental files. But if I remember correctly, the Pinto was a little pocket 380 or 32 that sold pretty poorly and was generally regarded poorly and was pulled from the market after a few years.
Oh,
Close.
So it generally, so you mentioned the pocket, so that the small size, it technically actually is going to be typically a JK or N frame revolver. So it tends to be not on the small side. And it is a name given to a certain Smith & Wesson class of revolvers and that were popular with collectors, refers to guns that have a mix of blued and nickeled parts. And the name derives from the Pinto horse, so there is a correlation there, which has patches of white in color. The guns were produced as a way to use up excess parts from the different production runs, but they have acquired a niche collector interest pool. What do you think of that?
He got me.
Ben, gotcha.
Okay. Well, you were close. I mean,
Well, yeah.
Not really.
Well,
he didn't call it a car.
There's one.
There's one.
I was going to say it's not the name of Christopher Columbus' ship, but then I realized, oh, wait, that's the Pinta, not the Pinto.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah, well, good question. Ben from Phoenix got me.
Gotcha.
So he gets a shirt or a hat or
whatever.
something like that.
there you go. He
I
does.
don't know how it works. I just answer the questions.
You do a
Love
fine
it.
job, no doubt.
Absolutely, Sam. Fantastic. And I'm looking these up. I was curious after I read the question. I'm looking them up, and it's a mix. Some of them have a wood grip. You might see a black frame, a silver barrel, various material mix of the drum. It's very, very eclectic and hodgepodge.
Well, they're just using
Absolutely.
spare parts.
Right. That's it.
Yeah. So did you do a blog this week or last week?
Yep. My latest one just went up a short while ago. And I'm trying to tread really carefully here because I know a lot of people listen to this show, or I hope a lot of people listen to this show, and I don't want to upset anyone. But I just briefly give my thoughts on Dianne Feinstein's political career with her recent passing. I don't go into too terribly much detail, and I try not to say anything too inflammatory, but everything I say is either a true statement or my opinion based thereon. Mm-hmm. So if you're interested, go take a look. It's on the San Diego County Gun Owners blog right now.
I think that's an excellent
Absolutely.
idea. Absolutely.
A lot of our history just isn't known to the current generation, so I think that's great.
No, not at
Put it all out there.
All right.
Fantastic. Thank you, Sam.
Well, thanks for having me on, as always.
Absolutely.
No, I didn't get it this time.
You'll get it next one.
Not a concern. I mean, it does happen. I mean, let's face it. By the way, it says here from a listener, actually, Sam's answer is valid. Colt did make a gun called a Pinto. It just wasn't the answer that Ben had sent. So you're half
all right. Hey, I say we give it to Sam.
Me too.
That works.
I don't know. That wasn't the answer given.
Okay. All right. How about just a little ding?
Again, this goes into the category of we'll have to do some more research and we're going to have to find out. Because, again, I just looked up what the listener just said. And, yes, there is a Colt Pinto. So, I mean,
interesting.
Again, It's quite interesting for sure.
All right. Well,
I'll have to do some research on my end because I could have sworn there was a little pocket 380 they made that did not sell well, but it must be under a different name. So I'll have to get back to you guys and figure out what the real name was.
all right.
I did find a little pocket one. It's the 10.5.
10.5.
Yeah,
Okay.
I found one.
All right.
There we go. All right.
Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your evening, and we'll be talking to you next week.
Well, thanks for having me on, as always.
All right,
Thanks, Sam.
buddy. Thank you. All right. Hey, I see Mike has thrown some topics for
Yeah.
the symposium.
Yeah, we can just do a quick rundown of those if you're interested in possibly going and sitting in on some of the symposium. Here's some of the speakers and the topics that you're going to find if you have an interest. Mike Schwartz himself is going to be there. He's going to be talking about the CCW permit process here in San Diego County. Desi's going to be over there with Not Me San Diego, and she's going to talk about all things Not Me San Diego. So very women-centered talk. Matthias Quillenberg, we know him well. He's our German buddy. And he's going to be there with talking about the CCW lifestyle. And we're going to have
2.0.
2.0, right? And if you missed 1.0, it's okay. You can still catch 2.0. We're going to have our very own Joe Dramisi, and he's going to be talking about filling the gap between strong words and lethal force. If you are a CCW holder, these are some fantastic topics that you need to kind of sit in on and to give some thought to. We're going to have our comic buddy, Gabe Eltiab, and he's going to be there talking about navigating the front lines of culture wars, and that's really what he's taken his stand on. If you heard the show where he spoke about his departure from the comic world, at least the mainstream, and now he's gone independent. We're going to have Brady Pisola. He's with the Green Man Project, and he's going to talk about the philosopher warrior mindset. And last but not least, we have Mike DeSargo with Stronghold Dynamic, and he's going to talk about the paradox of perfect practice. And if you've never seen Mike on the range, it's quite a sight.
I was also going to mention on our YouTube channel, Gun Owners Radio, we have a playlist full of last year's Gun Owners Symposium. So you can watch Matthias's speech from last year or any of the other speeches as well. So
You know who'd be
Fantastic.
another good speaker?
What's that?
Gary Gibson.
Gary would be great.
I think he'd be. Are you listening in there in the little box? I think Gary would be a phenomenal speaker because he could talk about the legal aspect of it. I got a thumbs up. So, I mean, because he speaks so well that he basically pulls you in.
Absolutely.
And he does a really, really, really good job. Well, hey, it's fun. Mike's back hopefully next week.
He'll be here next week. And really quickly, just to fill in that gap. So you know how Gary was talking about the case that Mike is on that's countering, kind of going against SB2? I do have the name of that case in case any of you want to look it up. That's going to be going against kind of countering the sensitive places portion of SB2. And the case name is Coralero v. Bonta. So that's the one that Mike is on that is challenging the sensitive spaces on SB2.
So we got lots of ways to go. We need lots and lots of help. We need people to join our groups. It's not expensive at all. There's different levels of participation. But if you want your Second Amendment to be protected, you're going to have to participate and help out, whether in person, financially. I just took and throw my credit card on, and they pull money out of it once a month. It's super. It's easy. You don't have to worry about it. And at least if you're not doing anything, then you can't say anything. You have to participate. If you don't like the way the government is running your life, then you have to stand up and you have to say something. And if you can't do it, then you have to go to people that can. And Michael Schwartz is probably one of your best advocates for your Second Amendment right. I mean, he truly, truly eats, sleeps, and drinks the Second Amendment, along with his team. And we try to provide programs for you that, like Not Me SD, that will protect you and your family. And yes, we highly recommend training. I think we talk more about training than we talk about anything else. Because if you're not trained, there's a very good chance you're going to hurt somebody.
Or you're going to fail to be confident enough to pick it up and use it.
Right.
So therefore, it does you no good.
You're going to panic. You're not even going to know. Is it loaded? Do I have to? What do we got to do? What do I got?
You're more likely to freeze.
Yeah. Was there a button on there that I have to push? Yeah. And the criminal he's been shooting a lot longer than you have, most likely. So you have to have your upper edge. All right. What else? How's Discount Gun Mart?
Doing fantastic.
Rocking
Busy
and
as
rolling.
ever.
Is it
Busy as ever. Absolutely. Yeah.
There you go. Check them out.
Thanks for watching this episode from Gun Owners Radio. If you're watching mainstream media, you're not getting the truth about guns and the Second Amendment. Gun Owners Radio is the easiest way to stay on top of the Second Amendment fight, the fight for your self-defense rights. You can watch our live stream on YouTube every Sunday from 4 to 6 p.m. California time, or if you're in San Diego, AM 1170, FM 96.1, The Answer. We're also available on your favorite podcast platform. Just do a search for Gun Owners Radio and you'll find our show. Don't forget to support our sponsors. Click on the links in the show notes and support the businesses that support your Second Amendment rights. Like and subscribe to help defend and restore the Second Amendment, not just in California, but across the country.